So you're thinking about moving to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. In this video, we're going to talk about the good, the bad, the pros and cons of living in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Now, this is one of my favorite topics to talk about because I do get a lot of questions from clients all over the world looking to move to Fort Lauderdale. Let's get after it right now. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything about living in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, then make sure to subscribe down below and tap the bell for notifications so you're the first to know about the current real estate market in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. My name is Adela Philipson. We get calls, texts, and emails every day from people looking to make their move to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and we love it. Whether you're looking to move in 9 days or 90 days, make sure to give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email so we can help you make a smooth move to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. As I mentioned, we're going to be talking about the pros, the cons, the good and bad of living in Fort Lauderdale. Why don't we talk about the cons first and foremost? Now, humidity tends to be a huge concern. I have to say, the humidity, yes, it can be bad, but it's only 5 months out of the year, the worst being July, August, and September. So you will end up spending more time indoors. So make sure you have a good AC system. And with that humidity comes a lot more mosquitoes. There is a solution for that though. There are mosquito spray systems. We do happen to have one on our property, originally moving from Los Angeles to Fort Lauderdale. That was a concern that we had, but after further research, there are several companies that do offer it. The system that we have, it does have a schedule on it, and you can control it via Bluetooth with your phone. So the spray goes off at dusk and at dawn. During the summer months, you can add a bit more to that. And the actual spray itself, it is an organic, more citronella type based spray. So it's not harmful to children and pets. So it's definitely something to look into if that's a concern of yours. All right, another con is traffic. Now, with traffic, I would say it all depends on what you're used to. Originally coming from Los Angeles, coming to Fort Lauderdale and experiencing traffic was nothing. So when people complain about traffic here, I have nothing bad to say, but it all depends where you're from. So if you do come from another populated city where traffic is normal and you've experienced a lot of it, when you come down here, you probably won't notice it. But if you happen to come from a smaller town, maybe in Midwest, where traffic really isn't a thing, and you come here, it will be very frustrating. But realistically, it tends to be a bit more seasonal. Generally when snowbirds come down, when tourists are here, that's when it gets really bad. Otherwise, any other time, it's not really an issue. Hurricanes. Now, this is one of the bigger cons that I get questioned about every time someone is thinking about moving to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And it was a concern for my family and myself. So I would say it all really depends on where you come from, what you're used to. For example, the Midwest may experience tornadoes. The west coast of the United States, for example, California, where I'm from, earthquakes was a big issue. I've lived through multiple and experienced a lot of earthquakes, but we also had a lot of fires as well as a lot of mudslides. So it really depends where, what you're used to. The way I see it, hurricanes are rather large, but they move rather slowly, so at least you are warned about them days in advance before they actually reach your residence. So I would highly recommend definitely having proper flood as well as hurricane insurance for your property here in the area. But again, it just kind of depends what you're used to. It's all relative. Another con is the cost of living. So the cost of living here in Fort Lauderdale is above average, and that is because we get a lot of tourists. So the cost on groceries and food and drinks, even in restaurant, tends to be high, but it does go up a bit more generally during the winter months, and that's when we get that bigger wave of tourists coming into the city. If you want kind of like lower costs, it's always good to kind of go further away from where tourists are typically shopping. But just be mindful that if you are kind of like closer to the beach, closer to some of the restaurants where a lot of tourists, or even the grocery stores where tourists will go, it will be more expensive there. Another con are taxes. Yes, the state of Florida does have a reputation for no state income tax, and it does help with businesses as well as residents. But let's face it, the government has to get their money somehow, and that happens to be transferred by property taxes. So Florida does have one of the higher rated taxes when it comes to property tax in the United States. Living where 23 million people come to vacation can be a wonderful experience, yet it can also be a nightmare if you're not used to the higher cost of living as well as the peak in traffic. You will get to experience a variety of insects such as mosquitoes as well as the no-see-ums, and you may end up coming across an alligator if you're near the Everglades, or may end up spotting a shark during the summer months out on the ocean. But let's face it, every state has its cons, and you just have to decide whether the pros of you moving here and living in Fort Lauderdale, Florida outweigh the cons. All right, now that we got all of that negativity out of the way, why don't we go ahead and lighten it up and talk about the pros about living in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The first one I want to talk about is there are so many great places to live within the city of Fort Lauderdale. There are multiple neighborhoods. Each one is unique and it has its own personality. And the great news is that regardless of where you are in Fort Lauderdale, you're not far from the ocean. So it's a quick, easy access, and we have the opportunity to enjoy a long stretch of beaches. Another pro are the house prices. Yes, prices have gone up across the country because of the pandemic. But Fort Lauderdale still happens to be on the affordable side of a coastal city to have that beach living, especially when you're comparing it to Palm Beach and Miami. Another pro is the weather. The weather here is on average 75 degrees throughout the entire year. Yes, the summertime you can end up being a bit sticky, maybe July, August, and September. Winter, it's just heaven here. That's why so many people travel here during that time. And we do have more than 325 days of sunshine to offer. Another great pro is lifestyle. Living here in Fort Lauderdale, we have so many options, from great weather, beaches, more than 400 restaurants. So it's very easy to carve out whichever kind of lifestyle you want, whether it's just sunbathing, being poolside, being on the beach, going out at night. There's definitely some nightclubs, as well as great shopping. We have flea markets, luxury shopping, we have a couple malls, as well as in terms of restaurants, there's so much to choose from. Whether you're looking for Cuban, Thai food, or even just a great steak, you can definitely enjoy life here in Fort Lauderdale. Another pro is that Fort Lauderdale is a very diverse city. Some people may worry about fitting in or finding a community perhaps to really partake in once they move here, but realistically, more than 30% of people who live here come from another country. More than 100 languages are spoken, so the opportunity to find a community won't be that difficult, so you can definitely feel at home here in Fort Lauderdale. Another pro is the Fort Lauderdale International Airport. So many people from all over the world come to Fort Lauderdale to vacation, which means it's very easy to be able to get a flight in and out of Fort Lauderdale, as well as regardless of where you may live in the city, it's so close. It might take you anywhere from 5 minutes up to 20 minutes. So if you are in the most further north part of Fort Lauderdale, it might just be about 20 minutes to get to the actual airport itself. So it's not far commute, and it's so easy to just hop on a plane and go travel the world as well. Another pro is the homestead exemption. There are several exemptions that can assist with households on their property tax burden. A few of those happen to be for senior citizens, widows, veterans, as well as disability exemptions. Fort Lauderdale has a lot to offer. That is, of course, why a lot of people, not just from the United States, but from all over the world, people come to vacation. We do offer lots of restaurants, a lot of waterways, and there's so many outdoor activities that you can do, and winter here is heaven. So definitely, if you're thinking about moving to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. All the information is down below, and do not forget to subscribe to the channel as well as tap on that bell to be notified on the current real estate market in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.